Hello, once more, welcome back to the cellar, welcome back to Leopard Street. Today, I carry on with a little bit of scenic work, but with a slightly different focus. I'm going to be airbrushing. Now, you've seen me do a little bit of airbrushing previously, and what it's generally been is I airbrush something and I show you the results. What we're going to look at today is a little bit more about how you airbrush stuff. So, without further ado, I'm going to adjust the camera so we can see a few things, and then we'll get on. Okay, so what do we need to airbrush with? Well, the first thing we need is an airbrush. Take the hose off that. We'll come back to how I do that in a minute. Now this is a gravity feed airbrush. It's quite a dirty one. It's a very cheap one actually. This cost, I think, these are currently on Amazon for about 20 quid. I think I spent a tenner on this. And it comes apart. We'll have a look at cleaning them in a bit because that is probably the most tedious part of the whole thing. But essentially what you've got is a needle body that sort of goes into here. And this is a twin acting airbrush. There's two types, twin acting and single acting. Twin acting, there's a button, you press it down and that releases the air, and you pull it this way and that releases the paint. So you can control both actions. Single acting, you've just got a button to press for the air. The paint mixture's set. And you adjust that with a, I mean, it's adjustable, but it's not, I will do that with my finger and trigger it. So that's a simple airbrush. We have here another type. This one, as you can see by the fact it's clean, I don't use. This is a siphon feed. So here you have the airbrush. Again, it's twin acting. This one's got a nice little stop, so you can say, I don't want it to go less than such and such, and you can twiddle the end. And what you have is, if I can get the thing to come out of here, you put a little glass jar on the bottom, it's friction fit. You put your paint in there and you spray. In theory, really good if you have to spray quite a large area. In practice, that's heavy, so it gets a little bit awkward to hold. I also find it's bulky and it gets in the way. This one's actually got a cover over the front of it. I think, that cover? The whole thing's just come off, so I'm going to guess it's supposed to be a pull-off of some sort, but anyway, I'm not going to be using this, so it doesn't matter. So you get a couple of jars. There is also this little thing here, which is like a smaller pot that you can just put in the side and you can just tip a little bit of paint in and away you go. Again, I don't use that. These are quite wasteful in terms of paint. As you can probably imagine, you can't get all of the paint out of the jar. You end up wasting some. And also, because there's quite a bit of it, I'm going to put that down because I don't use that one. What you find is it dries around the end and it clogs up. So with acrylic paint, one of those, unless you're really thinning it, probably not that good an idea. You might be better off just use one of these. If you're using things like inks, these can work quite nicely because inks don't dry and clog up in quite the same way. So I'm just going to get that out of the way. Just don't care about that. And we have the other use, well, let's just cover this bit first. A pot. This is useful, mostly because it's somewhere to put the airbrush. You can't, well, obviously because the lid's like that, you can't lay it down flat, otherwise all the paint will come out. Some compressors, we'll have a look at this in a minute, come with like a thing you can sit on the end and put them in the stands. This though, because it's got a pot and a little filter, when you come to clean the airbrush out, you can empty it into this. This captures all the paint, doesn't make any mess, and every now and again you just take the bottom off and wipe it out. Now when you get these, this one doesn't have the same adapter on the bottom. You get a screw thread on the bottom and you screw a hose onto it. The problem there is when you unscrew that, you lose all the air out of your compressor. So I've got quick release couplings. It's like a tenner. You get one of that end and 5 or 6 of these. So if you have a couple of airbrushes, you can swap between them just like that. If you're going to get an airbrush, that is the next purchase. Even if you haven't got an airbrush with a tank, because it saves screwing and unscrewing things. It's just so much easier. So put that back on there. I'll look at setting it up in a minute. Then what we have is this. The compressor. Now this has a couple of parts to it. Silver bit at the top is the compressor. The bit at the bottom is a pressure tank. So this thing runs, builds up pressure in this air tank, and then this switches off, which is nice because this is noisy, as you'll hear in a minute. So this thing will just come on and go off as it needs to with pressure. There's it goes below a certain value, it kicks in. It goes above a certain value, it shuts off. Works really quite nicely. You can get them that are just like those. The problem is they run all the time and they're noisy. The tank is, it'll run for a while, then it'll shut up and you can hear yourself think. So that's that. You then got this bit, which is, there's two parts to this. There is this bowl at the bottom. This is an air-water separator. This thing will suck in air, it will get moisture in it, it will blow that moisture down the hose, it will destroy whatever you're painting. You just end up still getting airflow, you get like spitters of water coming out as well. Don't want that. This has also got a regulator, and it's quite simple to use. You pull it up, turn it up and down, press it down again to lock it, and there's a pressure gauge. The gauge is the pressure this side, so it's not what's in the tank, it's in the hose. When you adjust it, you get pressed down to get air through, because then you'll see what pressure you're blowing out at. If you don't, this will read a bit high. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to connect the hose, which is quite straightforward. So that goes onto there. This then can screw on. Yeah, you could put a quick release coupling here if you wanted to. You can get little manifolds that go onto other bits and pieces. I've got a much bigger air compressor than this. I've got it's under the desk down the back there somewhere. Yeah, you probably can't see it from there. That's a 2.5 horsepower compressor, which is a lot more powerful, and I've never used it because this does everything I need it to for airbrushing. So you set this up. You need to then get some paint. There's many sorts of paint. What I would say is don't spray enamels through one of these things. Firstly, because enamels stink and you will want a full face respirator if you are spraying with enamels. Somewhere I have a little face mask, which I usually use. However, it needs replacing. So I'm going to be a bit naughty today and not use one, but you want to. There's three sorts of paint. There's enamels, which I say don't go near. Just forget about them. Unless you have a specific reason for needing to use enamels, don't use them. The next type is alcohol-based acrylics. These are the Tamiya paints. They do some very nice paints. If you want clear colours, their clear coats are brilliant. They are acrylics, but they use alcohol instead of water, so you have to thin them with, I think it's basically IPA. You get a bottle of the thinner they do, it's the right stuff. That stinks. Again, you want a full face mask and you want good ventilation. That stuff really stinks. The other option is what I use, which is acrylics. Now the range I use is the Vallejo Model Air range. There are others. You can use pretty much any acrylic you want. What you have to do is thin it. For example, this pot here has got sleeper grime from Rail Match in it. There's not a lot left. I'm not actually going to be using it. I'm going to be using a different brown because I've got more of it. And what you do with that is you get hold of, get the right bottle, this stuff, airbrush thinner. You can thin with water. It's cheaper. This stuff's better. This is like a thin medium for the paint. It's not water. So if you thin with water, the paint can go a little bit beady on like certain surfaces. This stuff mixes properly with the paint. And I forget how much I paid for that. It was about 10-15 quid for a bottle. They last ages, so 200ml bottles. When you come to clean the airbrush, we'll have a look at cleaning it in a bit. There's an airbrush cleaner. Basically, you put a bit of water in the top, put a few drops of that in with it, blast it through the airbrush, and it's good at removing dried up paint. We'll look properly at how you clean them. That's what you also get is one of these. A little cleaning kit. There's some brushes. This has got the spanner in it that takes the end off the airbrush. That doesn't normally come in the kit. That comes with the airbrush. I've just put it in here so I can find it. And this golden coloured thing is like a spike you can use for scraping paint out with. So we'll have a look at those in a minute. The killer question, what does all this cost? I've written this down. Now these are links I took from Amazon. This isn't what I paid because I've had this for about 2 years. And you do need to replace them occasionally. I'll come to why in a minute. So this airbrush with the tank, about 82 quid. Seems quite a bit. We'll come to the total cost of this in a bit and I'll sort of explain why I went down the route of having an airbrush. The airbrush, they're currently 20 or 21. Like I say, I got that for about a tenner. The cleaning station, which is this pot, about 9 quid. There's numerous varieties of those. The quick release hose things are about a tenner. The cleaning kit, which is the little bag, was 6 quid. So all in all, it's about 128, 130 pound. Now I got this, I didn't get this from Model Railways. I do a lot of gaming models, which I don't have any to hand. There's loads down here, but I think there's none are in reach. And these need priming, and they get primed with rattle cans. Rattle can primer doesn't go very far and costs about a tenner a tin at the time. When I got this kit, like I say, this is 80 odd. I think I paid about 75 for this one. They've not gone up too much. And I thought, well, instead of rattle can priming a model, so I've got at least a tenner on a primer, at least a tenner on some spray varnish for the end of it. So that's 20 quid for 2 rattle cans. And they don't last forever. Didn't take many rattle cans before buying one of these was cheaper. The primer, you can get primer in 200ml bottles like this, as well as these little ones. I've got some of these from about 7 or 8 years ago in this. I've still got loads in them. So it's a hell of a lot cheaper in the long run. You can also do effects with an airbrush you can't do with paintbrushes, and some things you can do. It's just quicker to do it this way. So how do we actually use one? Well, the first thing I'm going to have to do is move the camera again. So I'm just going to have to shift a few bits because I'm going to need to find somewhere else to put it. Because you need to be able to see what I'm doing as well as this bit. So I'll rearrange that. I'll be back in a mo. Okay, actually I'm just going to angle you down a little bit more. That's better, because I'm going to be spraying over here. What I'm going to be spraying is the ballast along here, which as you can see stands out compared to the ballast I painted last time. The ballast along that side, but the first thing I'm going to be doing is painting this path. This is the bathing sand for small rodents, and it just needs a coat of grey applying to it. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And the grey I'm going to use is a Vallejo Model Air. This is 71.051 neutral grey. Shake the hell out of it. Incidentally, I'm going to turn the compressor on. It's going to make a lot of noise. I'm going to then pause recording while this thing comes up to pressure, and then I should be back. But this is what these things sound like. Fail. This is what you get for not practicing. I need to turn what it's plugged into on. This is what these things sound like. Loud, and as you can see, it's vibrating. It comes on little rubber feet. Yeah, it's now building up the pressure. I'm going to, like I say, I'll pause until this is at pressure, then we'll be back. Okay, so this has come up to pressure. Incidentally, this top bit will get hot. These are oil-free compressors, so you don't have to worry about lubricating them. And this is why this is my third one. After a while, they wear out. And what you find is it takes it longer to come up to pressure. It won't hold pressure. So the thing is on more often, damages itself internally, more wears out. So there we go. Like I say, adjusting the pressure, lift that up, squeeze that, and it's currently at about 20 psi. Now, I'm happy with that. Different paints, you might want different pressures. Some slightly thicker paints, you want a little bit more pressure. Really thin paints, if you're doing like glazing, you can get away with 10, 15 psi. So what we do is we shake the hell out of this. And all I'm going to be doing here is spraying this lighter bit. I want it to be a grey. What I'm then going to do is go and clean the airbrush. So we'll go and have a look at doing that. Then I'm going to come back down and carry on spraying. We'll have a look at how it goes. But that's that. Now, these model air paints are pre-thinned, so you can just put them in, and I'm not putting a lot in. You can thin them. There is also this stuff, flow improver. What this does, it's not quite a thinner. It is a little bit. I'm not going to be using any here because I don't need it. What it does is it retards the paint drying a little bit. Now there is something I do need that I haven't got readily to hand. So I'm just going to bring, excuse the noise, a little bit of XPS. Because before I start, I just want to make sure the paint's coming through smoothly. And it is, there's a grey blob on there. So what we do is we come over here, press the button, very lightly pull back on the trigger. And then the paint starts to come through. Now, I'm not masking anything here, so this is going onto the brown a little bit. I'm not bothered by that, to be honest with you. Don't care. Kicked in again. Now, because of what this is, I'm also going to be coming at it from this angle, just because it's sand. I'll make sure I get all of it. And there's going to be other colours sprayed over this eventually as well. I'm just going to touch up this grey here a little bit. Some of the other colours got onto it. I was doing some work the other day. I've got some grey paint left over. I'm going to spray over all of this as well. Just loosen that up. A little bit left, so I'm going to come to this side and spray left-handed. Admittedly, that's in your way, so you can't see what I'm doing, but so that this will shut up in a minute. Now. Disconnect that. Just put a loop around there. And naturally the hose springs out and knocks all the paint pots over. Anyway, that's that done. So what we're going to look at now, I've finished with that colour. That needs to dry a little bit before I come along here and start adding some dirt, which is going to go onto here and onto there, and it's all going to sort of blend it together a little bit. So what I need to do is clean the airbrush. So we're going to go upstairs to the kitchen at Leopard Street. The first time we've been in there with the camera. I can do this because my good lady is not here at the moment. Filming in the kitchen would probably result in revocation of privileges. I have cleaned the sink, however. So we'll go upstairs and I'll have a look at how to clean this out. So here we are at the sink. Now, cleaning an airbrush, it's simple. One of the truisms of airbrushing is you will spend longer cleaning it than you will using it, because this has to come apart now. So what I do is I get a bit of water running. This is acrylic paint. You can do this with acrylic paint. If this was enamel, you'd have to use enamel thinners, and it makes a right mess. So the first thing is, this end piece here comes off. This is the end of the nozzle. Run that under some water, put it to one side. Then the next piece comes off, the same width. Now this has got a little bit of dried paint on the end, so I'm going to run it with water. I'm going to give it a wipe, run it with water, go through the inside and blow through it. And you probably can't see that, but there's a hole in there, which I can see. It tells me it's not clogged. There is a scrapey tool. Quick check on that. Yeah, that's fine, there's no paint on the end. Now, I've got like a scraper tool that can go through there. Now, the back comes off. One to watch. This will get wet, this will corrode, it will stick. Annoying. So every now and again I just put a little bit of oil around there. The needle comes out, and this has got paint on it, so that needs running. While that goes, I shall just drop that back into there. I'm going to get some kitchen roll. Yeah, so as I say, you'll spend more time cleaning the airbrush than you will using it. It's the same way if you're doing detail work, you'll spend more time with masking tape than you will spraying. So that literally just cleans, nothing on there. That works. Now this is a light clean. If you're doing a deep clean, you take this little nozzle piece off here and take the end off, and you can hose it through completely. I'm not doing that here because I don't need to. This one, the paint reservoir unscrews, which is quite useful. And that I just run water through. As you can see, it's making a lovely mess in the sink. I run water through that until it goes clear. Back to the holder. This is the reason these holders are useful. And give it a quick wipe out, fingers fine. There is an O-ring on the bottom of this, make sure you don't lose it. Roll it back up. Paint on the outside, doesn't matter. A little bit of dried paint down the top, on the inside, doesn't matter. The key is to get rid of all the wet paint. Now what we do, or at least this is how I do it, is I will run paint through where the trigger goes, and this will run down the body of the thing and it will flush the paint out. And you push some in there and you'll see it spurt out the end, and it goes everywhere. It's just running water for you. But after a while it goes clear. Quite clear yet. It's easier, you'll get it go clearer quicker if you push it through that in there. And you can just leave it and you'll watch and you'll see a little bit more paint coming through, and that's that. We're going to do the next step of this downstairs, which is running some of the cleaner through it. But that's now clean, so what we now do is put it back together, which is fairly straightforward. They pretty much all go together in the same way. There is another sort of these that have an external mix. So the paint comes up here, and don't go near them. They're really cheap, really nasty. They're easier to clean though, because the paint doesn't get inside them. They're like the sort of, Games Workshop do one that looks like a miniature flamethrower. And it's like, oh, really nice little thing. Yeah, it's horrible. You also see ones that sell you cans of compressed air for the same price as a can of paint that you can use with an airbrush. Yeah, don't do that either. They're just horrendously expensive. Right, that is now clean. So I'm just going to dry it off a little on the outside. The secret for this bit, when I say it binds up, don't over tighten it. Just leave it a bit loose. It's fine. If it does jam up, you just put a pair of pliers on it and torture it. Sorry, gently adjust it, not torturing it, obviously. No, we don't do that. Right, back to the cellar. Now here we are back down in the cellar. So here is said airbrush. One thing I didn't mention that I have done, that's got a bit of water in it now. So what I'm going to do is squirt some airbrush cleaner in. Doesn't need much. Friend of mine who I bought a lot of this stuff off years ago, and what he did is he kept small bottles like this mixed up, 50% cleaner, 50% water, because you don't really want to be using pure airbrush cleaner in these things. It's a bit aggressive. But literally now, press that, work this backwards and forwards until that's all gone through. And it's basically spraying out water and cleaner at the moment. So quite nice. Carries through nicely. Keeps going. This obviously will kick the compressor back in shortly, but there we go. Can't do a great deal about that. And then what we're going to do first off, like I say, is spray this ballast. So let's clean that. I'll wait for it to stop again. What I'm going to use is my mix of sleeper grime and thinner, which I've got a little bit of in here. Don't have much. I'm hoping it will be enough. If it's not, I've got other brown colours. I'll just use some of those instead. But this was literally decanting paint from like the poster paint pot, the rail match acrylics come in, to about wherever, and then I doubled it so it's 50% thinner. There we go, shut up again. So I'm going to put this into here. Like so. I'm going to use all of it because I might as well. So there's not much left. So again, I want to do a little bit of a spray just to make sure it comes out. And this here is flushing out the last of the water as well. It's useful. There we go. What I'm going to do now is come along here and just add this along the edges. Now, I did some other colours as well when I did this originally, but the point behind this is just to tone this down. The track's going to need cleaning because I haven't masked it. Don't care. As we come further away from the rails, the ballast can get cleaner, so that helps a little bit with doing this as well. When this shuts up, that's that side largely done, so I'm now going to see how much of this I've got left. Not a great deal. This bit here is the next bit to do. Come along here like this. And it just shades the ballast. It's really just about darkening it down. I've got this bit over here to do. And this is going to go slightly up onto the wall. And I'm not bothered by that. I'm actually going to do a little bit more weathering on that in a minute as well. In here. Darkens it down. And I've got this bit here to do as well. Which I'm less bothered about because frankly I can't see that normally. Come down here, a little bit more on the base of the brickwork. And it's just about run out, but that's fine because I'm going to go with a different colour in a minute. There we go, all here. On the base of the wall, which weathers that in nicely. The end is warm. There we go, and I've run out of paint. Now I'm not going to clean it out this time. What I'm going to do, I've got some other colours here. I have dark earth. I'm going to use some of that. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to do some touching up around the edges with it. And again, this is a model air paint, so I can just do this directly. One thing you will find, you don't have to clean it out between every single colour if they're similar colours. This is pretty similar, so I'm quite happy with it. It's a little bit browner, a little bit lighter, but I'm going to come along here. I'm just going to spray over the bits of this that didn't get much of a darker colour. And this is all just to blend it in again. Bit there, and in this corner also needs doing, because now what I'm doing is a bit of the weathering effects. Going to bring it up and down this edge a little bit here as well, and over here. I see there are certain bits of this that when I was, I've been doing the plastering, I've got a little bit of white on them which I didn't really want, so I can use this if I can hold it correctly. So spray a bit more dirt onto the inside of the bridge. There we go. A little bit more along here. And this is just about blending it all together. So I'm now going to come back here and over that. I've also got, thinking about it, the little hut to do, so I'm going to do that down here. And all I'm doing, if you can see on that, if I hold that way, hopefully you'll be able to see one side's done, one side isn't. It's just a little bit of brown along the bottom that will help hopefully blend the hut in slightly on its little pedestal. Front as well. That's going to sit there, and that's hopefully blended in a little bit better. We'll zoom in and we'll have a bit better look in a minute. The top of the compressor is now starting to get warm. Down here. I don't need to mask this because I've gone in quite close with it. And again, I'm actually after a slightly softer edge, so it's not that big a deal. Here like this. That's just about run out, and what I'm also going to do now is another colour. I'm using Panzer Grey, and I'm going to use this to darken the insides of the bridge a little bit. Again, straight over the brown, because I'm not too bothered if these mix. Indeed, I actually want them to a little bit, because this is going to darken things down a little bit more. That'll do. I'm just going to lightly cover that path with this. That grey is a little bit lighter than I was expecting it to be. That's going to get some other work done to it. I'm going to do a bit of dry brushing and some other work on there as well. So now I'm going to go into the bridge. Now what I want, it can be easier to do it from this side. It probably will. So I'm just going to move the box out of the way. I'm going to come around here. Yeah, that works. What I'm trying to do is darken the inside of the bridge. Just darken it a bit. I'm also going to come along here where the point work is and grey the ballast a little bit more, and a little bit more around here, like that. Possibly. Yeah, just darken it. It's all about building up an effect. And that I can actually turn the compressor off at this point. Disconnect that. I've got to go and clean that again in a sec. And you do need to clean it quickly because you want to do it before it dries. But I'm going to go and clean that. I'll be back in a minute. Then we'll just have a little look at what effects we've got over there and see whether I want to do anything else. Yeah, it's okay. We're back. Compressor switched off. That'll cool down. I'm actually just going to release the air pressure. The only reason I'm releasing the air pressure is I'm going to be moving it. I'm going to turn the power supply to it off as well, which works. So yeah, I'm going to be moving it back to where it normally lives, which is over my desk. Well, under my desk, out of the way. And I've got an air hose that doesn't want to behave. But never mind. Right. So what have we done over here? Well, if we zoom in a little, you can see we've got that brown along the base of the walls. It's done. It sort of blends them into the dirt. Carries on to this side as well. The ballast along the edges of the track are done. That pathway is no longer as garishly bright as it was. I've done this side as well, and it sort of fades nicely. And the bridge, it's getting darker towards the back. Keep in mind, it's probably not going to work very well because it's only a piece of paper. Eventually, that is going to have no light on the other side of it. Of course, I mean, it's open now, but that's going to be under the station area. So just fading into black works quite nicely. And the track fades into black a little bit further on. Originally, I thought the bridge was going to be a bit further. Anyway, that is airbrushing. So with that, hang on a sec. So, a fairly quick video. I'm hoping I've sort of shown you, I mean, if I can use an airbrush, anybody can use it. My youngest picked up how to use one. It took him about half an hour to get used to doing it. And there's all sorts of things you can do when you're practicing it. Get a couple of pieces of card, try writing your name with it and other bits and pieces. I originally bought the thing for priming models. So literally I was going to pick up a model, a wagon or whatever, spray the whole thing. I'm not bothered about detail. These brushes are cheap. You can get some very expensive airbrushes that you can do some really nice effects with if you've got the skills, which I haven't. I'm getting there with some bits. I can paint camouflage patterns and things with them now, which I couldn't originally. As I bought it for priming things, applying base coat colours and varnishing. It's grown to do so much more. It's brilliant for weathering effects, like when I did the retaining wall along here, all the paint colour on that to blend it together. When I do the wall at the front, down to the bottom, eventually that'll be done. It's great for blending things together. To the point, if I had a choice between an airbrush, if I pan you over there, that 3D printer you can see over there, I'd get the airbrush first. They are that useful. Doing any form of ballasting, painting ballast destroys brushes. Airbrush doesn't care, spray it on. Putting like an oil smear down the middle of the tracks, all that sort of stuff, it's brilliant for, and it's not hard to do. Even if you don't do any of the weathering. You saw a lot of the weathering videos on the wagons over there. Airbrush, it's just easier, you don't get paint marks on. The scary bit is cleaning them. Hopefully the little segment upstairs showed you it's not actually that hard. You can do a full strip down on one. If people are interested, let me know. I'll show you how to do it. It's not hard. It is literally the end comes off, the other end comes off, and there's like a pipe cleaner. You ram through the middle of it a few times. Done. There's nothing else to it. Cheap airbrush. If you wreck it, bin it, get another one. Compressor, like I say, depending on how heavily you use it, you'll probably, if you're doing light use like I've just shown, it'll be a few years before it overheats and you need another one. If you're spraying large amounts of things, might not last as long, but it's still going to be cheaper than rattle cans. Anyway, that's just a very quick little update, which I thought I'll do. Originally I was just going to be painting that area, and I thought, well, that's going to take me about 5 minutes. That's not really going to make a particularly good video. So let's have a look at how you actually airbrush stuff. You can play with the pressures. You can airbrush. I say don't airbrush enamels. You can get yourself a proper face respirator. I mean, you've seen Sam Strange's ones. He's got the big full face respirator with, you know, the things here and the full screen. If you're doing enamels, that's what you want. Acrylics, you probably wouldn't hurt. One thing you'll notice, I don't have an extractor about it. Down here is fairly well ventilated. Because I haven't got an extractor fan, what I haven't got is something churning the air up. So I don't have something spraying, just spreading particles around. I normally spray into a cardboard box. There's no fan. The paint goes into the box and it stays there because there's nothing to disturb it and bring it back out. I'd like a proper extractor. Don't get me wrong, I'd like one. They're fairly expensive. It's more the space they take up. When I'm not using anything, the cardboard box is under the layout. Over there, somewhere in the corner. Yes, anyway. But with that, I will leave this. We'll come back on the next video, which will hopefully be Tuesday. We'll be looking at something. Not decided what yet. It'll be whatever I'm doing over the weekend. But until then, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, enjoy painting, so on and so forth. Test things, enjoy driving trains, play with things. Yeah. Likes, comments, shares, more than welcome. I've been enjoying reading all the comments on the some of the electronics videos. Kelly, I haven't blown myself up yet. You are right to warn. There is still plenty of time and I'm more than capable of it. So keep with the warnings, please. Till then, enjoy your week. I'll catch you around. Thank you very much and goodbye.